20 to 8, this is breakfast. Now, texting is fast, it's easy, and everyone's doing it, but how vulnerable does it make young people?
Yes, according to new figures from the NSPCC, there's been a big rise in what's called sexting, the exchange of explicit images by teenagers. Some call it harmless fun, others see it as a trend with potentially devastating consequences.
For many young people, it's flirting, exchanging images and videos through their phones. A couple of keystrokes and they can be posted on social networking sites which are accessible to millions. But some of the material that is sent this way is sexually explicit. Childline say the results of its recent survey show that teenagers are taking huge risks. Out of the 450 13 to 18-year-olds questioned in August, 60% said they had been asked for sexual images or videos of themselves. 40% admitted to creating graphic material, while a quarter said they had sent the content to someone else. It's illegal to take or have indecent images of anyone under 18, even if they're of the person taking the picture.
I've been sent a picture before when I was in school. I was like sending that picture everywhere. It was me and I felt bad after. I tried to apologise, she slapped me. Ministers
say that from next year in England, all children from the age of 5 will be taught how to stay safe online as part of the new IT curriculum. But as technology continues to evolve, sending graphic pictures will become easier, raising questions of how and if teenagers can be restricted from sexting. Seema Katecha, BBC News.
Let's talk about that. So is it harmless fun or a trend with potentially devastating consequences? With us to discuss this is Jools Constant, who uses humour to teach dangers of the new media to students. And in our London studios, Sharon Girling, a former police officer and one of the founders of CEOP. Very good morning to you both. Thanks very much for joining us. Sharon Girling, you're a child protection specialist, and I know you've been looking at this for many years. When you first started with CEOP, how often did you see these kind of images, and how has that changed?
It's changed dramatically. When we first started, there were very few images, in fact none whatsoever, of people generating them themselves. What we're now finding is young people are generating those images, and it's permitting sex offenders and those kind of people to pleasure themselves by looking at images of these young people, rather than relying on sex offenders creating those images with vulnerable youngsters themselves.
So Sharon, just give us an insight into this. Is there a difference between, are you drawing a distinction between youngsters who are kind of doing it between themselves and it's almost become accepted that it happens and they're doing it routinely, and somehow that's slipping out of that group, if you like?
Absolutely. There is no safe way of sending this material. A young girl and young boy send it between boyfriend, girlfriend, or girlfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend. They fall out. That image is generated and distributed amongst their social friends. It's placed on Facebook. They're then harvested and collected by like-minded people and stored and sold online to on child abuse websites.
Jools, I know you talk to children, really essentially teenagers, about this kind of thing, and is it that they don't understand where these images can go, or what are the main issues, do you think?
The main issue is peer pressure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a comedian. I go into schools and do a show which deals with cyberbullying and sexting. And what I'm doing, because I'm considered as cool, because I'm a comedian, I'm giving them a voice, I'm giving them a way to say no effectively. But instead of saying to them, don't do it, you can't do it, just tell them about the implications, tell them what the consequences are, and let them make their own mind up. Because if with anybody, teenagers and blokes come to that, if you tell them no, they want to do it even more. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the peer pressure thing. So you're talking there about that it's become accepted practice amongst teenagers, and if someone says, if they get a message saying, send me one back, they're going to be written off as the prude in the school. Is that what's happening by way of the peer pressure?
Absolutely. If you're not cool unless you do as you're told, especially by the good-looking boys, you know. So what I'm saying to girls is, the boys will say, tell me you love me, send me a picture of yourself naked. And I'll say, if he really loves you, if he really respects you, he won't be asking that. Say no, just stand up to him. Or if you are going to do it, be aware of the consequences. Know that if you send it on Friday, the whole school may have it on Monday.
And that can have a devastating impact on people, can't it?
There have been, unfortunately, a number of suicides directly linked to sexting, because it's just mortifying. Boys and girls suddenly finding their most intimate body parts are everywhere.
Sharon, what's your experience of how this is dealt with? I'm thinking maybe within a school, because if say your son or daughter receives one of these images and you as a parent find it, you say a 14-year-old, what should be the first step? Is it the first step to go to the school? How do you go to the parents of the child involved? Do you go to the police? Do you go to the authorities? Because there's a danger of almost escalating something too fast, is there? Or is that taking it too lightly?
Yeah, I think there's some very basic rules. The first thing is you've got to reassure the young person. They've come to you because they trust you, so reassure them and engage with them. Find out how far they've distributed. Is it between two people? Then there's the hope that we can have that image removed and isolated. If it's gone wider than that, then consider contacting the school, or certainly engage with the school and see whether or not there can be some education and some harm reduction in there. We've produced a leaflet for parents. There's a booklet for schools on how to deal with these issues, and they can be downloaded at securesoftware.com and compassfostering.co.uk. They're free. Please use them. It shows you how you can get the image removed from the social networking sites and the mobile networks.
So, Jools, and what's your message to children? But it's not too late once the image is gone, or just don't get it out there in the first place.
Don't get it out there in the first place. Just don't do it, because the risks are too great. You know, there's not only legal issues,
yes,
but there's also self-respect issues. You know, the implications are massive. So I say to youngsters, and this might be a little bit out there, but if you are really ready to get naked in front of a boy, then do it in a safe, respectful way. Don't do it in a way which you can lose all control of.
Well, that in itself, you know, by saying that, it can be quite controversial. But I suppose the key element of that is contact with your parents or with those people who look after you, so you have a dialogue about
or an older
what
person
you
you respect.
Generally.
Yeah, an older person you respect. It's not always your parents. Kids often don't talk to the parents. The parents are the last people to know. I tell kids in my school show to find an older person that they can confide in. Maybe it's another person's parent or an aunt or an uncle, somebody they know they can trust, and talk to them about it.
It's difficult, isn't it? Jools Constant, Sharon Girling, thank you both.